Penelope loved her husband Benjamin very much. He was 5 years older than her, worked in a factory, and had a good position and a high salary for his age. She had just graduated from medical school and dreamed of getting a job as a nurse in a private clinic. But she didn't have enough work experience, and if it wasn't for Benjamin, they wouldn't have been able to rent an apartment and live apart from their parents. His salary was enough to rent a small one-bedroom apartment. Their provisions were provided by the bride's mother. She worked in an agricultural company and sent the newlyweds the essentials. Penelope wanted to get a part-time job, but Benjamin didn't want her to be a nurse. "You have no business carrying ships. You didn't study for that." "What am I supposed to do? Sit at home?" "There's a medical center opening nearby in the fall. It's a big chain where my older sister's mother-in-law works. I'll talk to her about getting you a job there." "You will?" Penelope was excited. "I will. In the meantime, do your housework. A woman has to keep the family together, and you don't have to work at all." Penelope shrugged. She wasn't going to stay at home, but she didn't argue with her husband. She was brought up in such a way that she understood that the man in a family is the main. Benjamin liked that very much. The meek Penelope seemed to Benjamin the perfect match. Obedient, homemaker, and without unnecessary demands, she was also liked by his family. Hannah, his mother-in-law, often came to visit and taught Penelope how to run the household. One evening, she arrived tired and pale. "Hannah, are you sick?" Penelope was worried. "My blood pressure's been high all day," she said. "Nothing helps. You need to rest, Mom," Benjamin advised. "Who am I going to leave my family to?" The mother-in-law raised her eyebrows in surprise. "Who will cook for your father? And who will supervise your sister? She's only 15 years old, and she thought of going out with a boy. I'll talk to her." "Thanks, son. Maybe she'll listen to you at least. I'm exhausted." Hannah left, and the residue of the conversation did not let Penelope rest. She felt sorry for her mother-in-law and offered to help Benjamin. "Why don't we send your mom to a sanatorium? She's been dreaming." "We could, but who'd be there for her? I can do it. What's so hard? Cook a meal for two and clean their house once a week." "You're a sweetheart. I knew I had married the best girl in the world." Benjamin smiled. He immediately called his mom and told her the news. She was happy, but her father was not happy that she would go away and leave the family to their fate. Then it was decided that while Hannah was away, Penelope and Benjamin would move in with them. "We have to do some work on the bathroom. The plumbing's old and the pipes are leaking. It doesn't seem like much, but it's not going to be comfortable," Benjamin told his wife. Penelope didn't want to move, but she had no right to argue with her husband. So the next day, they moved the most basic things to his parents' house. Penelope and Benjamin were assigned a couch in the kitchen, close to the stove. Laughed father-in-law Alexander. "You'll wake us up with aromatic coffee and pastries. In our family, coffee and fresh pastries are a must." Penelope listened and nodded. She knew how to bake and wanted to please her relatives. Hannah gave a lot of advice on how to take care of them and left after packing her things. Benjamin went to work, Alexander went fishing, and Layla, Benjamin's younger sister, went for a walk. Penelope stayed in charge and got down to business. She had to prepare food and clean up after seeing off her mother-in-law. But just when she had finished her lunch and decided to put the dough for the pies to please her husband's relatives, she was distracted by the doorbell. On the doorstep stood Hannah's son-in-law. It turned out that Benjamin's older sister had been hospitalized. "Nothing serious, neuralgia," explained her husband, Henry, standing on the doorstep with the two boys. "Where's the mother-in-law?" "She went to a sanatorium," Penelope said. "There was no one else at home except her. I have to go to work. I don't know where to put the children. I thought she'd take care of them. I'll have to call her and tell her to come home." "What are you doing?" "Don't do that. She just left. She needs a vacation." "You don't have to worry, Hannah." "What am I supposed to do with the kids? I'm late for work. Why don't you babysit?" "Well, just for a little while." Penelope looked at the 2-year-old boys doubtfully. "Fine. Here's a list of references and my wife's phone number. I'm off." Before Penelope knew it, Henry was gone, but the kids were, and they didn't want to sit still. The dough ran away, the cleanup became a mess. The children grabbed everything they could find and threw it all over the apartment. Inexperienced Penelope found it difficult to keep track of both of them at once, and the boys were very active and restless. When my father-in-law came home, the house was a mess. Flour was scattered all over the kitchen, one of the plates was broken, and Penelope was running after the children, trying to take away their broom and dustpan. Alexander started cursing. The kids got quiet, but Penelope got the worst of it. When Benjamin came home, he found his wife in tears. She was scrubbing the floor and picking up splinters from under the set. But instead of sympathy, Benjamin started cursing too. "I thought you could handle it. Instead, you're embarrassing me in front of my family." Penelope nodded silently and cried. She didn't eat dinner. She just set the table, and when everyone had eaten, she went back to put away the mountain of dishes. She received no thanks, so tired and hungry, she lay down on the uncomfortable kitchen couch and tried to sleep. In the morning, she was awakened by a loud alarm clock. And then Alexander's disgruntled voice progressed over her ear. "Where is my coffee? Why isn't it ready? I'm sorry, I'll be right there." Penelope got up, wiped her eyes, and started to prepare breakfast. Layla didn't eat. She went to the pool. Benjamin ran off to work, and the father-in-law had a long breakfast, not hurrying anywhere. But as soon as Henry brought the kids in, he announced that he had a bath scheduled. "Aren't you going to be with your grandchildren today?" Me? He was surprised. "Well, yes, I thought." The turkey was thinking too, but he got into the soup. Instead of thinking about silly things, "Go and pack my things for the bath." I'm used to my wife worrying about that. Penelope was uncomfortable rummaging through someone else's closet, but she was afraid to argue. She folded her shirt and socks into a large bag and handed it to Alexander. He left, and Penelope was once again left with other people's children and a to-do list. She hoped Layla would help when she returned. But the girl came home and, after snacking on vegetables, locked herself in her room. Penelope knocked on her door, but there was no answer. She tried to keep the kids busy with cartoons to make soup, but she didn't know what kind of cartoons kids liked. The boys didn't like what they were offered. They started running around again and destroying everything in their path. As a result, she had to feed the boys what had been prepared for everyone. When Henry came to get the children, he began to reprimand Penelope. "What kind of mother are you if you can't make a simple cauliflower puree? They're not my children after all. There are no other people's kids. What a wife you have, Benjamin," snorted Henry. Benjamin was silent, and Penelope was offended. When Alexander returned, he told Penelope that she had packed him the wrong socks for the bath and had given him the wrong towel. The evening was ruined again. All night Penelope cried and wondered what to do. She even asked her friend for advice. "Why are they sitting on you and hanging off your feet? Call your mother-in-law and have her come over. You don't have to serve them all." The contract was for cooking, not babysitting or picking up socks for that jerk. But it's true, they're not strangers. I can't say no. Well then, just bear with it. Keep quiet and smile. You're doing so well. Penelope decided that she would not disturb her mother-in-law after all, and would try to talk to Layla to help her around the house. At breakfast, when everyone was gathered, she asked Layla to set the table while she cut up the fruit for the salad. Layla ignored the request. Then Penelope had to speak up. "Layla, please take the plates and put them on the table. Who are you to give out commands in my house?" The girl shrieked. "Dad, tell her." "Penelope, don't raise your voice at my daughter. She's too young to do chores," the father-in-law said grudgingly. He did not want to be distracted from the news that was on TV. How to go out with the boys, not a little girl, but as soon as to take a fork, so immediately a child. Penelope couldn't stand it. Layla looked up at her with hateful eyes and jumped out of the table. Benjamin went to comfort her, and Penelope remained guilty again. She wondered if her friend was right. "Penelope, did you fall asleep?" Her father-in-law's voice made her flinch. The doorbell rang. "Go answer it." Penelope automatically went to the door. Here are the kids. I have to go to class with them today. Here's the address. Drop them off at 3 o'clock. There's a 2-hour wait, then bring them to me at this address. But it's Saturday, it's your day off. You bums have a day off every day. I have things to do, said Henry, and without waiting for an answer he left. Penelope was so angry at his words that she pulled off her apron and, taking the little ones by the hands, led them into the kitchen. Here, you have visitors. The father-in-law turned off the television and quickly scurried off, thinking up things to do. But Penelope didn't want to take this attitude any longer. No, they're your grandchildren. I've had enough of them. Dinner's ready. The house is clean, mind you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a life of my own. Where are you going? Bath, and then to the pool. And in general, I have things to do, said Penelope, and shoving her father-in-law's apron, shook her head and left. Benjamin came to his senses, but it was too late. His wife was on her way to her mother's and would not return.